If you want to grab a mouse, that would make it easier. Yeah. So if you want to grab a mouse from a computer, it'd make it easier. All right. So again, repeating, we open up Revit 21. We're going to Imperial Architectural Template. Once we have that, we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And what this is basically going to do is this is going to set us some defaults. And the defaults are fairly straightforward. The defaults basically give us these little, these are elevation markers. We'll talk more about that later. Basically, this one here is equal to one of these views. Actually, the little triangle is actually equal to one of these views. The little square is something else. So we're not going to get too much into what these are. What I'm going to say is don't delete them and work inside of the 4 of them. And there's a reason why. If you work outside of the 4 of them, if you go to one of these elevations, you won't be able to see it. You're going to wonder why it's hidden or it's not really there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out by making sure that everybody has both of these objects up, both of these windows up. We have this window over here. This window is called the Properties palette. This is a very important window. We're going to use this thing actually very often. And then the second thing that we have open is this one here called the project browser. And I got to wear this mask, so I can't really read a whole lot on the screen. My glasses fog up too much. So this one says the project browser. And as you can see in here, it does have the various levels. It has the elevations. Again, pro tip that I kind of mentioned to you guys yesterday, use your mouse, and there's a very small little plus sign next to the ceiling plan, or a maybe it's not a plus sign, maybe it's a minus sign. But anyways, collapse it, make it smaller. And what that's going to allow you to do is it's basically going to make it so you'll see like a level 1 and level 2 disappears. That's actually what we want. The reason why is that we don't want to get them confused with the actual floor plans. So go ahead and collapse this so that you don't accidentally get onto that level. Elijah, you hit the little new button, and then there's a thing that says Imperial Architectural Template. So at this point, I've essentially have nothing other than the template open, and I've collapsed the ceiling plans. Now, if I'm ever curious where I'm at location-wise, I'm on the bold. Whatever one's bolded in the project browser is the one that I'm currently on. And in this case, you can see that I'm on level 1, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to, bear with me for 1 second. I got to do a little bit of math. I want this to be. Just bear with me for 1 quick second. Okay, so I'm going to click on Alana. You go to the template that says Imperial. So you're Revit 2019, or I'm sorry, Revit 2021, I do believe, and then you go to the button that says New. And then you click the button that says Imperial Architectural Template. And then that should get you to this screen right here. You're welcome. All right, so I'm just got to do one more real quick little math thing. So bear with me for a second here. Okay, so, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the east elevation. So you can pick any one of the elevations. I just use east because it's the top one, and I double click. And what you guys should see is you should see the same thing I see. Essentially, you're going to see these You're going to see these elevation markers, datum markers, level markers. Any one of those will be the correct terminology for what we're for these right now. So as long as you see these, we're in the right spot. So we're going to make some changes. I'm going to come over to where the the numbers are, and I'm going to go to the level 1, and I'm just simply going to double click on it. And you're going to be able to edit this. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to say lower level. And then we're going to hit OK. Or hit enter. And then the little box is going to pop up that says, would you like to rename the corresponding view? The answer to that is yes. And I'm going to explain to you what that exactly did. So when I hit yes, you'll see over here now, it doesn't say level 1 anymore. It says lower level. Anywhere that the word level 1 was referenced, it has now been updated to say lower level. If you said no, it would have changed it here, but it would not have changed it here. It would not have changed it on any other views that you would have had that level. So we're going to roll up to level 2. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to change both of these. So the word level 2, we're going to double click on, and we're actually going to call this entry level. So this is just a simple reminder to you guys. This is where the hallway is at. This is going to be where you're going to be entering into your MicroLiving cube. You're going to hit enter. It's going to pop up and say, hey, do you want to rename it? Yes, I do. And then the other thing that we're going to modify here is we're going to double click on the 10, or single click on the 10 rather. And we're going to change this to say 9 foot 6 inches. I need to make sure that you guys type this in properly because Revit defaults to feet. So I'm going to say 9 apostrophe 6 inches, quote, whatever you want to call that. Get rid of that little extra line. 9 foot 6, and hit enter. And you should see it here. If it changed to anything other than this, you got to redo it. Okay? So do me a favor. I'm going to pause there for 30 seconds and let you guys catch up with that. Hit the raise hand button when you're at that spot. Or leave your raise hand button up if you're at that spot. Yeah, Elijah. So basically what I did was I was at the first floor plan. I double clicked on one of the elevation markers. I zoomed in. I found the word level 1. It did say level 1. And then what I did was I clicked on it. I changed this to lower level. And it comes up with this pop-up that says, would you like to rename? Yes, I would. And then I did the same thing up here. This was level 2. I changed it to say entry level. I came into the, it used to say 10 foot. I typed in 9 apostrophe 6 quote. Boom. We've got 9 foot 6. And again, this thing here, if you would have changed the name, it would have said, hey, do you want to rename the corresponding views? And that should get you guys to the same point as I am. Now, we have another step to do. Actually, we have 2 more steps to do. And this is going to get a little confusing. So I want you guys just to watch the process. And then what I'm going to do is get you guys to kind of to try to repeat it. So I'm going to hit up on the architectural tab at the top. So just to name a few things out to you. If I say tabs in Revit, I'm speaking of these are basically folder tabs. If you think about like a file cabinet, these are the tabs of the folder. Okay, so if I say, hey, look, go to the architectural tab on your ribbon. This up here, this whole toolbar thing is actually called a ribbon. So if I happen to, because I refer to them by name often. So if I say, hey, click on your architecture tab on the ribbon and go to, this is what I'm saying. So architectural tab or architecture tab. Over on the far right hand side, there's a thing that says datum. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit the word level. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second, because what some of you guys are going to tell me is that you guys can't see the toolbar. Your toolbar does not look like mine. What happens is that your screens are scaled really, really large, okay? There's actually a combination of keys that you can press. So let me get these up real quick so that I tell you. Zoom, Chrome on Windows. So to zoom Chrome, if you're using a Windows machine and you want to zoom, hold down your control key and hit the minus button or the plus button. Should increase the size. Hopefully that works for you guys. If you guys are on a Chromebook, it's also control key and then the plus or minus button if you're on a Chromebook. If you are on a Mac, it is the little funky looking key, command key maybe. I don't know. I'm not a Mac person, so somebody help. No, anybody got a Mac? No. It's that little it's that little funky key. I don't know what to call it. It's this thing here. Command. Thank you. I struggle with Mac. It's that. So you hold down. Okay, so command and then plus. And then that should, or actually it might even be minus. So it might be control, it might be command minus. Thank you, Grace. And it should reduce the size of your screen to where you can see more of the toolbars. And I hope that works for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this little button up here that says level. And there's a little bit of a trick to this, okay? So I've got to kind of line my mouse up with the left-hand side. And what I don't want you to worry about is I don't want you to worry about the dimension right now. I just want to make sure that you got it lined up. And I'm simply going to click, and then I'm going to drag over to the right-hand side, and I'm going to click when it's lined up again. And you'll see that it wants to snap, okay? Elijah, thank you. Don't zoom out too much or it'll crash. Sorry. So then I'm going to do this again. I'm actually going to add 2 levels. And again, I'm not really going to overly concern myself with the heights right now. I kind of over-exaggerated them, which is fine. So I now have a level 2 and I have a level 3. Again, I don't really care. It's not super important how tall they are because we're going to modify these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to level 2 and I'm going to change the name. And we're going to call this upper level. And then, yes, I want to rename the corresponding views. All right. So I now have lower level, entry level. Danny, I am. Yes, ma'am, I am. And then I have the upper level. And now I'm going to change the height of the upper level. So the height that I want to change this one to is 19 feet 6 inches. 19 feet 6 inches. And then I'm going to hit enter. And Elijah, yes, I will show you how to remake a level. So what I'll do is I'll delete this level and then I'll remake another one. All right, so I'm going to hit level. So on the architectural tab on your ribbon, I'm going to come over to the right-hand side in the panel that says datum. I'm going to hit the level button. And I'm going to line up on the left-hand side to where I see like a dashed line. I'm going to see a hidden line. Again, I'm just arbitrarily picking a dimension. I don't really care what the dimension is. But then I'm dragging this over until it snaps. You'll see it. And I always use the word you'll feel it. You don't actually feel it, but you definitely get this very it's this very physical kind of lock. And then once you have it there, it's locked on and it's good to go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this one. So this one here is actually going to get renamed to roof. And then yes, I want to rename it. And we're going to change this one to be 30 feet tall. So to recap, we renamed the first level to lower level. We got that at a 0 height. We've got an entry level, so we renamed level 2 to entry level, and that is 9 foot 6 inches. Upper level, we created a new level, a new datum line for the upper level. That gets us at 19 foot 6. And then we created our final one, and we called this one roof. And this one is going to be 30 feet. Grace, to answer your question, I will send you guys a Canvas message with a link to some Revit videos, or a link to a new playlist, which will be the Revit stuff. All right, so do me a favor, be cautious of your raised hand buttons. If you're where I'm at and you feel pretty good so far, go ahead and leave your raised hand button up or put it back up. It's up to you. But if you're where I'm at, and I'm going to give you guys like a minute to kind of get to this point. So I'm just going to pause here for just a second, just a minute.
What is the upper level?
The upper level is called, or the height, 19 foot 6. And then the tallest level is called roof at 30 feet. All right. And while you guys are working, I still see a couple of you guys are still kind of cranking away. I want to, how far up? Sorry. Elijah, does that help you? We're looking at 0 for lower level, 9 foot 6, 19 foot 6, and then 30. No, 10 feet above. And actually, guys, now that I'm looking at this, I actually made a mistake. This is going to be 29 feet, 6 inches. My mistake. So go in and change that. If you don't change it right now, it's okay. We can get it later. But change that one to 29 foot 6. So those are our datum levels. Now, I simply just want to explain what I've done so far. If I look at this thing in 3D, I've done nothing other than create these invisible levels that really don't exist. The initial setup in Revit is really important because we want to make sure that we get this thing established early on and that we kind of connect everything together. As we progress through the modeling of this MicroLiving project, a few things that you're going to notice is that things actually lock together. They're really smart. You can say, "Hey, I want to put a refrigerator in," and say you're working on the lower level. It's actually going to place the refrigerator right on the floor. But you could simply highlight the refrigerator and say, don't place it on the lower level, place it on the roof. And without even changing a view, it would know to move it all the way up to the roof level. So it doesn't sound like a big deal now, but it'll make more sense later when we start talking about how you connect stairs. Because I could say, make me a staircase that connects from the lower level to the roof. And it would actually do the entire staircase as one piece. If I wanted to go say a staircase from lower level to entry level, you got to set that. You base and it'll do it by default. It'll go to the next closest level, but you can override those defaults. And as we get a little more in depth with Revit, which we're not going to get too, guys, I don't want you to be too overwhelmed. We're not going to get crazy with Revit. It's just really kind of entry level stuff. So I'm going to assume most of you guys are here. I see raised hand buttons. I see these guys looking like they all have their hands up here too. So we're good to go. We're going to do 2 more things. One, we're gonna look at our floor plan. So I'm gonna go to our entry level. So let's all click on our entry level. I'm sorry, I lied. Click on your lower level. My mistake. Yes, sir. So if you lose one of, so Nick has a problem. One of his sidebar things went away. So if you go up top to the view tab, all the way over on the right hand side, the very, very right hand side, there's a button that says user interface. And the two that you're going to use the most are going to be the project browser. So just put a little check mark next to that. And then the other one's going to be properties. And then once you click on those, you should have both of your toolbars back. Good? Okay. And that's good for everybody else to know. By the way, to get back to your cursor. Oh, thank you, Maggie. Yep. And I'm definitely a typer, so I do the MD. So Maggie mentioned here that if you're feeling stuck in a command and you're not really sure what you're into and you're just trying to get your cursor back, simply type in MD. So, and guys, I apologize. Like, I'm still recovering from my event the other day, so I'm pretty winded as I'm trying to talk to you guys, and having this thing on my face doesn't really help. So let's progress here. So I've got lower level, and we're going to start looking at what we're adding next. We're going to start looking at walls. All right. So again, we're going to spend most of our time in the architectural tab. This is just where most of the elements that we're going to be using are going to live. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the wall button. And I want you guys to take notice of something that popped up. You may or may not have noticed it. So I just hit MD to get out of it. I want you guys to focus your eyes just on my screen for a minute and focus kind of around where I'm circling my cursor. And this is an important thing that you got to take note of. So I'm going to go ahead and click. And if you noticed this very pale green, and I'll do it one more time for you guys. So I click, you'll see this very, very pale green bar pop up. This is a bar called the options bar. So if you want to take note of that pale green bar, it's called the options bar. And what this does is it allows you to make settings pre-construction. So you can make modifications to settings pre-construction. So if I look at this, I'm in a wall command, and I got a couple things. One, it says height. Okay, great. If I just look at this, there's height and depth. I'm not going to worry about changing that. I'm just keeping it at height. Right now it says unconnected 20 feet tall. Okay, let me just break that down for you guys. What that means is if I draw a wall right here, I'm on my lower level, so I'm just going to draw a wall. You guys do not need to draw this wall. I'm just going to draw a wall and hit escape, and I'm going to look at this thing in 3D. What this tells me, it's hard to tell, but that wall is a little bit taller. You guys can see that 19'6" mark. The wall is a little bit taller than that 19'6" mark. It's because that wall is 20 feet tall. That's what it says in this little box. So as I drew that wall, it drew it at 20 feet tall. Likewise, if I come into this wall and I say, hey, you know what? Make this wall, let's be crazy, 100 feet tall. And I draw a wall. Whoops. All right, so I draw a wall 100 feet tall. Boom. I'm going to look at this thing in 3D. Here we go. I have this obnoxiously tall 100-foot tall wall. Now, let's go back again. Let me go back to my lower level. I'm going to delete. Actually, I'm not going to delete those. I'm going to, and guys, I just want you to follow. I don't want you to actually do this. I just want you to kind of follow with your eyes as I'm doing this. Instead of me setting a height, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something different. I'm on my lower level currently, and I actually want to connect the top of my wall to a different layer. So in this case, let's say I'm going to connect it to the top of my roof. So I'm drawing a wall that's going to start on the lower level and it's going to end at the roof. Now, can anybody tell me how tall my wall is going to be? How tall is my wall? Not 30. Somebody said 30 here. If I look at this, how tall is my wall? Right? It's going to connect to that 29 foot 6 inches. And if you look here, I'm going to look at this thing in 3D again. It's this back wall, right? We had our 20-foot wall, which I'm going to delete. We had our 100-foot wall, which I'm going to delete. Now we've got this wall that's perfectly lined up, and you guys can see it right here. It's perfectly lined up with my datum point of the roof, which is 29 feet 6 inches. Here is why Revit is extremely powerful, or one of the things that makes Revit extremely powerful. So you guys can all see, let me go to a different elevation. There we go. There's that wall, right? It's connected to that 29 foot 6 inches. Let's just pretend I had to make a modification for some reason. And this thing went to 35 feet. You guys don't do this, just watch along. I'm going to change that to 35 feet. So there it went. It went to 35 feet. If I scroll out, my wall actually grew and stayed connected to my 35 foot mark. If I lower that back down, it's because we actually told that wall that you're going to be indefinitely connected to that datum line. So no matter what I do with this, I don't care if I move it up, arbitrarily, it's always going to stay connected to that line no matter what I do. If I shrink it down, it's going to shrink down, et cetera, right? So that becomes an important principle for you guys to understand. So let me hop back real quick. So let me go back to my lower level. And again, I did that by simply creating a wall, dragging it out. Or I'm sorry, before I drug it out. Sorry. On that, I connected it to my roof. Again, I can change this. I can actually say I want it to be unconnected. I could do this and then set a height, or most commonly, we're going to set it to something that we're going to connect it to. Now, there's another thing that I want you guys to look at here, and I can't zoom in to show you. It's a little hard to read on my screen, and I know that. So this here says location line, and there's a couple different settings in here. It says wall center, core center, finish face exterior, finish face interior, core face exterior, core face interior. So none of those should really mean anything other than the one that says wall center line. Quite simply, if I draw a wall using wall center line, let me zoom in here. You'll see here that as I draw this wall, it's literally using the center of that defined wall type. Everybody good with that? Makes sense, I hope, a little bit. Now, if I change that setting, I say I don't want it to be the wall center line. I want it to be the finished face of the exterior. If I draw this line now, you're going to see here, it's located in a different spot. It's using the top edge of the wall and not the middle of the wall. Why is that even remotely important for me to mention? Because it seems so arbitrary. We're only talking about 2 inches difference, really. 4 inches in this case because it's an 8-inch wall. So why would I even... I'm winded, so why would I even waste my breath explaining that to you guys? Anybody? Why would I even waste my breath explaining that to you? This is what we call teacher classic wait time. We wait for a response. We give it till it's like an awkward, 6 seconds is about the rule. All right, so I'm telling you guys dimensionally, you guys are doing a 30-foot cube. Okay, so let me just look at this and let me set my wall center. Let me set it to wall center line. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag this across and I'm going to type in 30 feet. And I'm going to drag it down and I'm going to type in 30 feet. Obviously, rinse, wash, and repeat, 30 feet, up 30 feet. Okay, beautiful. You guys okay with that? Looks great. 30-foot square, except for I just failed. because this building is actually 8 inches too big. So if I measure, and it says where do I want to measure from, it's making me measure from the center line. Again, if I look at my options bar, I want to actually do this from wall faces. So I'm actually going to measure from the outside to the outside. And if I look here, my building is not 30 foot by 30 foot. And the reason why it didn't maintain that dimension is because I used wall center lines and not wall exterior faces. So let me just step back through this again. I'm going to go wall. Where do I want my location line? I want my wall location line to be at the finished face exterior. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this around. Now I'm going to type in 30. And I'm going to drag this down and type in 30. Drag it over, type in 30. And then this one I'm just going to kind of connect, okay? Now, grab my dimension tool again. Grab the outside, grab the outside, grab the outside, grab the outside. I now have achieved my dimensional accuracy I was looking for, okay? Simply by just changing where I was drawing the walls. And if you guys notice when I drew the walls, just as good habit, draw these things clockwise, please, okay? And there's a really good reason for drawing them clockwise. If you draw them counterclockwise, your inside is out, your outside is in. So what I mean by that quite simply is if I click on the wall tool and I go 30 feet, 30 feet. That's a little close to the other one, but still okay. If I do that and then come in here and measure this, if I annotate this with a dimension, you're going to see here that this is actually way too big. It's actually 30 feet from the inside because I drew it backwards. Because the inside's the outside and the outside's the inside, okay? So clockwise, just remember that tip as you're going through this clockwise. All right, so what I'm going to ask you guys to do, quite simply, since you guys are all I'm assuming you are all at the point where you have these datum positions already done. I want to get you guys all on the lower level. We're going to keep today really, really simple. We're going to grab the architectural tool. We're going to grab the wall, the architectural tab. We're going to grab the wall command. We're working on the lower level. So you're going to actually double click on the lower level on the project browser. Yep. And now we're going to do two things. And this is really important. You can't mess this up, okay? I want it to be connected to the roof. And I want the wall location line to be located at the finished face exterior. Chain is okay to select. Offset should be set to 0 by default. All of that is good. Quite simply, I want you to simply click a spot, drag to the right on your keyboard, type in 30, drag down, type in 30, drag left, type in 30, drag up, type in 30. The escape key on your keyboard. And then I want you guys to view in 3D. You guys should have made a beautiful, beautiful, stunning cube. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention how to go to 3D. At the very, very, very top, there's a little like doghouse looking view. Yep. So I'm going to double click on, I'm going to do this one more time for just to help everybody out. I'm going to double click on the lower level or under floor plans. I'm going to click on the architectural tab at the top. I'm going to click on walls. Two things I need to set. One, I need to make sure that it's connected to the roof. And then I want to make sure that my location line is set to finished face exterior. I'm going to click a spot up in quadrant number 2. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to drag my mouse to the right. And again, I'm going to the right because I'm trying to draw this clockwise, okay? So always remember to go clockwise. Type in 30, hit enter, drag it straight down. You'll see a little, like again, I use that word feel. You'll feel it snap. Drag it down, type in 30, drag it over, type in 30, drag it up. You can connect it or you can type in 30. It's up to you. Now, I do want to just quickly explain there are better ways to do what I just did. Quite simply, I could use a rectangle and I could drag it out. Okay, there's a few things that I could do here. I'm trying not to get too overly complex with you guys to start out. So we're going to learn the very, very basics as we're going through this. And just like that, if you drove, you're welcome to hang out for a few minutes. If you rode the bus, you are bye. You rode the bus, Nick, so you got probably another minute or so. Okay. All right, so I've got my 30-foot square. Again, we're going to click on the little doghouse at the top. This is called your quick access toolbar. So I don't call it that too often. I typically just say the buttons at the top. But if you want to know the proper name, this is called your quick access toolbars. There's a little button up there that says default 3D view. Click on that. Sometimes you'll get this warning that says save the project. I'm going to say no for now. But you should have this nice, absolutely stunningly beautiful, best project you've ever made in Revit, right, Maggie? You have this nice, beautiful cube, and we are going to say that you are now in the midst of starting your MicroLiving cube. Okay. We are going to expand obviously on this. We're actually going to modify the walls. Thank you, Maggie, for helping me with tech support. I appreciate it. So we are going to be expanding by obvious. See you guys. We're going to add interior walls. We're obviously going to add some windows and doors and things like that. So we're actually going to do this. We're actually going to end up doing this thing twice. We're going to end up doing this one as a practice together as a class, and then you guys are actually going to be utilizing Revit to kind of help design your own individual cubes. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.